Okay, so welcome everyone, and welcome everyone.
Welcome, Giovanni.
Here we are in the barn doing yoga, our Tuesday yoga that began with COVID. And we've been, so before I forget, I just want to say that the next 3 Tuesdays, I'm on holiday, so there won't be any class, but there's almost 2 years of classes online, so you're welcome to go there, and they're free. And then I think we pick up on the 31st, Tuesday the 31st. So we're going to look at what we've been looking at the last 2 classes, which is how the spine moves and how that can support, strengthen and help you to get to know your back. But also I'd like to take that into the way our legs rotate or don't rotate, or are more stuck this way or more stuck that way, and how that can impact the knee. And we've done this also a number of times in the classes. So those are the things I want to go over. But let's begin, as we always have. Maybe come forward on your chair. If your chair is very low for you here, maybe you can put a blanket under your bum. In fact, I think I will too. Yeah. So the mystery of the chair is that the chair, to the chair, it's the same principle as the Sabbath that Jesus was teaching about. So the chair, very often we don't examine what the chair is giving us, and it's wonderful. The chair allows us to rest without having to lie down and without having to stay standing. And when we sit in a chair, we end up having 4 feet, our 2 feet, and our 2 bottom feet. So we get a kind of wonderful stability that we don't have in standing. We get something different. And so we sit in chairs to pay attention. But very often the chair is either too high or too low. And when it's too high, then your feet aren't touching the ground and you don't get the support from your feet and you feel like you're falling off your chair, and that's not very good. But for many, many of us, the chair is a little bit too low. And of course, also our computers are too low. They're down there on the desk when they should be up here. But just in terms of the chair, so if you look at me, and you guys can go around if you want to, these are actually very nice chairs, more or less. But this chair is just slightly too low for me. So when I sit in the chair, I feel relatively stable. But if I close my eyes and relax, I can feel that my pelvis wants to relax backwards. I can feel that I have to make an effort to stay up. And if you look at me from the side, you can see that my back is working. Mm-hmm. So after a while, in my pattern, I'm going to have my hamstrings, my shoulders, working to keep me upright, or I'll just get tired and I'll lean back like that, which is wonderful. Chair to go to sleep while you're reading a book and sipping a glass of wine, that's fine. But so what does that mean? It means that the relationship of what's bent, my trunk to my legs, is not exactly serving me. It's a little bit low, so my flexors and my extensors are at war to keep me quiet. Okay, but if I raise this, and with this chair, it's not a lot. If I raise it, I already feel better. And if I raise it just a little bit more, it's paradise. It's really, I can be very quiet. After a few minutes, my legs will relax. my belly will relax, and I'm going nowhere. I would have to make an effort to roll back, okay? So just play with that, and if you need a little bit more support, put it there. Some of you, we've done this lots of times, yeah. Try, Miriam, add a tiny bit, yeah, just see what happens. And so the mechanical principle is that the axis of your hips should be a little bit higher than the hinge of your knees, a little bit. And then more or less high depends on how much your pelvis tilts, but that's, yeah. Yeah. And of course, this is very, very personal and very, very subjective, and you shouldn't be testing this during your meditation. Okay, do it at another time when you're watching TV or reading, because otherwise it's a distraction. But also how high we are is very personal, because it means that my behaving center gets more and more presented to the world, and people don't want that. They feel arrogant, or they want to blend in the background, so they don't want to be up there. So that's a very personal thing, what we do, you know, safety and opening, what we do with our upper bodies. How is that, John? Yeah. Okay, so that's the first thing. So just stand up. Just stand up and then sit down again. Or stand up and go for a walk around the chair and then sit down again. And just feel. So feel for yourselves, just for yourselves. Yeah, that's great, Henriette, because you're tall. You could be killed by your chair also. Yeah. And that doesn't mean that you should never use the backrest, not at all. It's just that it's good to know this, because it's a very basic need. And if you meditate in a chair, you can decide to make this higher and not have your back against the backrest at all. So that's a very basic need. And this is related to what we've been doing with the spine, just very quickly. Because if the chair is too low, or in general, our habit is, because we're holding here too much all day long, my habit to sit will be to make a bend in my lower back. That's what we do. I flex, I protect, I look at the floor, and I go, and my feet flex, and I bend my lumbars. So I bend my lumbars, and then it's already too late. Then I'm sitting, and I'm going to be at my computer for 2 hours, you see, and I'm already in flexion. So my pre-movement is set, my landscape is set. And that's really a pity, because when we sit and when we bend, we shouldn't be doing this, really. That's a very secondary thing. We should primarily and instinctively be doing this. You see the difference? Folding here in the groins, where this deep folding hinge happens. And instead, very often we don't do that. We do here, and I haven't even folded here. And then I go to sit, and then I'm struggling. So stand up again, stand up in your rooms. Put your hands where the strong thighs meet the belly. Yeah, take a moment to feel. Yeah, so in yoga, in the Indian system, when we take time to feel, actually we're doing a mudra. Mudra is when parts of the body come together, you know. So mudra, they knew that when we touch, we close a circle and we get tons of information. That's why we give hugs and we look at each other, you know, we're closing. So when you put your hands here, when you practice on your own or when you're sitting for meditation, these moments where we touch ourselves, it's really to deepen the friendship and to learn beyond the visual and the idea, the language. So see, I want to bend here. And in fact, I don't have to make any bends yet. I don't have to make any bends. Yeah. Whereas very often we are doing this. And in the garden, you know, we're doing this. And then we go to pick up something, do you see? And what we aren't doing is this old monkey movement. And it's so important, whether you have one leg forward or not. Yeah. So if you've done a lot of Alexander technique, it's the same. You have a long rope with all the Buddhas attached above your head going up to heaven, or the Christ hanging from the sky as you go to the chair. Yeah. Yeah, so you see many systems pick up on the same. Yeah. If you're not doing that, then you're making lots of little micro bends here. And the next thing, and these are the themes for today, and you're clenching your butt, or your buttock stays closed. Also for the camera. Yeah, and of course, a tight ass is not helping world peace.
Peace, yes.
Yeah.
No,
Same with a tight jaw. It's not helping world peace.
yeah.
It's funny, but actually it's true, because the way we are is the way we get our world. So if I'm in flexion and tension, she may come to me very nicely, but I may perceive it as aggressive because I'm in flexion. So I receive an aggression, actually. If I'm open, then I'm more likely to receive it as open. So we're the lens through which we're seeing the world, and vice versa. Yeah. So little bends here, tightening of the ass, sitting down. And then the last point is that means that all the discs of the lower back, between each vertebra, there is a disc. A disc is not an inert cushion. A disc is a living brain full of mechanoceptors and life that's sending messages through the whole body about connectivity. All those discs are being pushed back and sideways over time. And then they get fibrotic because we never change our position. So they get hard on the side and the bulges start to become, which we all have, you know, more and more significant. And so I'm putting bad non-biological pressure backwards deep inside my spine. Whereas if I allow myself to fold here, I'm not doing that, okay? And when I come to sit, I have many more options, not just this one. Okay, so the little micro bends of the spine, the tightness around the anus, and then the unhappiness of the discs. These accumulate all the time. And then we start to have problems in the upper spine, the shoulders, and very often problems around the knees because the legs stop being free, because this is like this. Okay. Should I say all of that again? Okay, so yeah, so here we are. It's a little mechanical thing, hips higher than knees, but it opens a whole world of befriending your body and understanding the yoga poses. So then just make a little rocking back and a little rocking forward of your pelvis. Yeah. When you rock back, your tail is like a big wolf's tail that goes between your legs. When you rock forward, your tail is like a squirrel or a peacock, right? And it goes back. And both are wonderful. But if we live too much here, you know, that's not so wonderful. And it goes into fashion. You know, the culture of having your jeans down around your thighs is not great because it's really putting you like this. So just rocking. Rocking. And then notice that your feet can support the rock. My feet can push me back. My feet can support me as I come forward and lean into my feet. If we go very far forward, try to be more open. This, yeah, very far forward with the arch back. And then very far back, all the way back until we're resting against the chest. Right. And then we can push and come back up. Yeah. Yeah. So the right height hip means that you're free to move and play. You're not just stuck in one thing while you're typing. And then the feet are very free and happy to participate in this. At the other end, the head is on top, and we want the head to be a little bit free of the jungle of the body, because the head is this huge weight that sticks out and, you know, it's not flopping around, it's held up there. So we want to be able to move the pelvis with wakeful feet and a head that's free. I can look to the left as I move my pelvis. I can look to the right as I move my pelvis. Yeah. I can move my pelvis while I type an email. It's quite wonderful. I can move my pelvis while I sip tea. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And just close your eyes for a moment and just notice what's happening. I know I'm putting a lot of ideas in the space on my body as I sit with a bit more support. And as I move my pelvis, of course, if the chair was too high, you would put the support under your feet. Yeah. Very good. So those were all the ideas. So just take a moment to come back to the sense of weight, the weight of your body seated on the chair. How is my weight? How is it falling to the chair, to the feet? And welcome all the differences. If there's more on the left or on the right. For me, there's more on the right. Like my right sit bone is 10 centimeters lower than my left one. You may feel that one foot is receiving more, or it's all going to your shoulders. So we welcome everything. The pelvis is free to move. The feet are free and alive and able to make contact with the ground. And the head is happy, coming out of the body and open to the horizon all around it. So I'm both suspended and grounded. I'm both making roots and finding the ground, and having wings and finding the sky or the space. Yeah, and you see the instruction in meditation to have a straight back is, it's a simple sentence which you can unpack for a lifetime. You can do Lectio Divina on have a straight back for a long time. Is everyone comfortable? Yeah. Okay, so we've always begun touching into the sense of weight because it brings us near to ourselves. This reality or principle of nearness, the immanence of presence. And when I'm near, then I can be far. If I'm with myself, then I can take in the world. I can take in the other, the depth of the space, the quality of the afternoon, good news or bad news. Est-ce que tu as bien compris les grandes lignes? Ouais. L'auteur, l'axe, la possibilité de bouger, mais d'avoir des racines et des ailes. Oui. Et de ne pas être prise en flexion parce que la siège est trop bas. Et le poids. On a toujours commencé avec le poids parce que c'est basique pour tous les hommes qui ne l'évitent pas. On est dans nos poids sur la terre. Et le poids me donne la sensation de proximité à moi-même. Et ça me donne la possibilité d'avoir un espace profond. Et vice-versa. Plus profond est l'espace, plus je sens mon poids. Okay, so we put our hand on our chest. And we feel the warmth of the hand and the weight of the hand. And you can watch me, regarde-moi. And we just allow the chest to drop a little. So of course, this bends the back and it brings the head forward. And very quickly we are rolling forward. And we just feel, if it hurts your neck, don't force anything. Just feel. So I'm bended forward. like I'm bowing, or I'm kneeling deep in prayer. I'm and we could keep going so that we come together and the whole spine is bent. On est content avec la courbature de la colonne, sur les genoux, sur les pieds. Le relâche les organes, the organs are relaxed. Then we put one hand at a time on the knees, and then we just gently push back, on pousse et on revient. And we just return back slowly until the head is on top. And again, noticing, receiving the movement and the shifts of your body. Okay. Now I put my hands on my chest and I just make this small movement. My hands trace or tickle my chest up and out. And the arms do what I want, which is I want the chest and the face to open to the sky. I'm still on my chair. Je continue à être assise. I still have my feet on the ground. But my chest and my face have opened and my back is bending backwards. And then I bring the hands back to the head and I just let it trickle down my face. Down, and then I follow. I follow and I go back where I was before. And now the spine is bending forward, and now I'm really resting on my elbows. And we can drop even more forward. If this is okay for your back and your neck and your breath and your eye pressure, dropping forward, arms outside. On tombe en avant, les bras derrière les jambes. And I really let the weight of my body be in my feet. And I let go. Then I put one hand, une main sur le genou, l'autre. And then I use my hands, I push and I just let it accelerate as I come back up. And then I wipe up my belly and my chest and I open and I open and I open. That's it. And this time we go more. Bring the arms closer together. My arms go up and it's like my arms are bringing me into a back bend. Like I want to put my arms on the back of the chair, comme si je voulais mettre les mains sur l'arrière de la siège. It's a very deep movement of the upper spine. Keep the elbows towards each other. Your feet are awake. And it's a wonderful, joyful, complete waste of time. Wonderful. And then the arms come up, up, and then down, sliding like an egg just broke on your head and it's just trickling down. And that made me bend and made me come down. Hang all the way, put the hands at the knee, push back up, on revient, tickling yourself up, back up into the sky, huge feet. Don't effort in the back, hang from the sky with your breastbone. Let the elbows bend. And you see, I make this kind of swanny, snaky movement. You can just let your spine wiggle and serpentine. And then the head, hands to the head and the chest, and rolling, sliding all the way down. And come back up to the middle. Okay. Is that okay? Yeah. Okay, just take a moment just to feel, maybe to look around. The weight brings us into the garden of our embodied self, so we're near. And then we notice that the breath, there is a breeze in the garden. But I'm not saying this is how your breath should be, which is a pity. In yoga, very often it's said, your breath should be in the belly. No, really ordinary breathing when we're peaceful and like now, both parts of the body, belly and chest, breathe together. Some people a bit more here or there, but it's like that. I'm calm. If I start to go to sleep or digest, to induce that, but it's also depressing the system. It's making it sleepy. So to cultivate belly breathing is depressing the system, the autonomic system, the nervous system that charges and discharges the body, is always being told like that. And breathing only in your chest is exciting the system. So when you run to catch the bus, you start to breathe more and more in your chest and you accelerate and you get zippy and you do catch the bus. Or if someone says something that upsets you, we go up here. But ordinary breathing is both. But of course, if I go here, let's do this, I let the breathing drop into my belly. And if I stay here too long, which happens to people in meditation, they don't realize they're about to fall off their chair. They're completely folded forward. It's taking you ever more into sleep and digestion and slowing down. Then I put my hands on my knees and I roll back up and I open. And of course, the back bend draws the breath up into the chest. Into the chest. Yeah. And coming back down. So without judging each other, we can see that some of us are more here and some of us are more here. And that signature marks the kind of excitation that we bring. So I know I'm a bit more here, and I know that I'm a bit fast and I interrupt people, and because my system is a little revved up, whereas some of us are a little here. And that does something else to the system, and it's a beautiful, deep internal signature of how we like to be in the world. But through yoga and playing and through meditation, you can play with this. You can play with the excitation, de-excitation of how you are with others. Does that make sense? Yeah, so let's move not only here, but let's just move not only the pelvis, but it helps. But let's move the center of the human being here. Little forward and up, little back and down. So whenever people tell you posture should be like this, it's a problem because it's not true. Posture is where I am in my life. If I'm grieving, if I'm excited because I'm going to the Oscars and I'm going to win the Oscar, I'm not going to go like, oh, I won the Oscar. I'm going to be up here. So if it's summer or winter, if I'm alone on retreat or I'm at a party, if I'm trying to attract a mate, all these beautiful things, they come from this. And it was always thought that the face was the thing that mapped the other human being the most. So if you move, I move. But they've discovered by putting little electrical markers that it's not the face. It's the upper center of the breastbone. So we dance with each other most precisely from here. Isn't that amazing? And I find it so beautiful. So where I am here with you is a tango, that never ends. Never ends. So no one should come to you and say, you should be more. Yeah. And so in yoga, we're always opening the spine and we're discovering how can I do more or less. Okay, so watch me for a minute. So we're going to go down like I did, so I'm not making a shape that I'm looking at. I put my hand, I feel my roots, I go, just watch. and I roll, and then I give a bit of support, and I go all the way down here. So when I'm here, hang on. When I'm here, I could come back this way, or I can make a very deep movement of opening my senses, my sense of touch, my antlers, my face. Je peux ouvrir tout mon monde de sensations vers l'extérieur. So I actually come up from outside there. And I let that bring my spine up. Okay? And then when I go down, I do what we did. Let's do it together. And then I go down, and then I'm all the way down, inside or outside the legs. I have huge feet. And then I open to the world. J'ouvre au monde. And I let the world take me up. All the way up. That was great. Yeah, that's it. That's it. Beautiful. So everyone did it. You've made a very profound movement of your vertebral, intervertebral discs. You made a greatly deep movement of your ribs. Yeah, beautiful, Miriam. Beautiful. And open your eyes. Yeah, that's it. And at the top, the whole thing should open here. So we're down, and then we open the fingers, the top of the head, the breast, the chest, the throat, the world, the sky, the rain, the robin, the butterfly opens me. Yes, the jaw, John, the Scottish jaw opens. Open the mouth. Yes. Let it rain in your mouth. Yeah, beautiful. Yeah, and it can be done very slow or very fast. And then I can go all the way back against the sofa and yeah, imagine a whole new way of watching TV. Yeah, great, great. That was beautiful here. So the yes, and so the whole thing opens. Is that okay on the back?
Yeah, funny. Back to my side. Really don't like that head between my knees.
Yeah, because you. Yeah. Okay, let's do it one more time. Start with a sense of weight. Feel the sit bones on the chair and the feet on the ground. And then the weight of the hand and the warmth of the hand lets my chest drop and my head drops and my belly relaxes, and I fold over my organs and I go forward and I drop through, and then I open my eyes and my senses and my skin and my ears and my nose, and I come up. I come up, and it's like my lungs are hanging from my arms. Yeah, that's beautiful. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, so there's no shape that as the main point, which is a pity, because in yoga, asana does not mean shape, yoga asana. We think it's yoga shape. No, the Sanskrit for asana really means that which can be held with stability and ease. So it's not really shape, it's roots, or it's a different, it's a much richer language than English. So it's not a shape that I look at and I get right. Okay, is that all right? So if we just take the chair away. Yeah. So those of you who've been following the classes, so there's a whole sequence we've done kneeling and a few times in standing, but you can see you can do it in sitting. The same thing in sitting, but if we go to the floor, and if you need support under your knees, please get it. Yeah. So have a look at me just for a moment. So in yoga, this is very, very popular. It's called child pose. This one is very popular, right? And the other one that's very popular, look, is dog pose with, watch my back, with your heels on the floor. Okay? So both of these are what enhance this curvy part here, okay? So if you have a lower back problem, you feel like you want to stretch your back. So you're doing child pose, but you're not helping your back at all because actually the discs are being invited back. And the same, then you think, and usually when you have a back problem, your hamstrings are tight. So then you think, oh, I'm going to stretch my hamstrings. So you do like that, but look at the back. Do you see? So that's all lovely, but it's a pity that the other direction is not cultivated, which is this one. Okay? Which the Sanskrit for this is bottoms up. Yeah.
Wonderful.
So try that. You know, just go into child pose for a moment, and then slide or walk forward until your bum comes up. Tuck your toes under, and really take a moment to let the spine drop off. Yeah. And it takes time to really learn this properly on yourself when you come around. Are you okay? Is this
Me?
comfortable? Yeah.
No, I'm fine.
Great. So then go forward here and put your head on the floor. Voilà. Is this okay? Yeah, yeah. And the head on the floor. And you can be long or you can rest your elbows. It's really up to you. Or you can do both. You can do both. So really letting the spine drop off. And then letting your head roll a little bit to one side for a few breaths. And to the other side. Yeah. Yeah. Just, yeah. So let yourself in and feel what you're doing. Often in yoga, it's so criticized to let your ribs fall forward like this, ribbing out. And it's a pity because when we let the torso go into this very, very deep back bend, passive back bend, we are actually opening, lengthening, awakening all of that very deep and old tissue along the front of the spine, behind the organs. Does that make sense? It's very, very deep, very deep, very deep. And everybody has these curious little parts of the garden where a gardener should come and work a little bit. Here's one here. So we want to, it's also the side bend, isn't it, of your spine? It's very nice otherwise, dropping through. Yeah, dropping through. And the other thing that happens is that in this position, the space between your sit bones gets very wide. So this is the ultimate prayer for world peace. Because your anus is, and the back of your pelvic floor is widening, is widening. Yeah, is it comfortable?
Yeah.
So go forward a little more, go. This is also good. The what you did before is fine. But when you go a bit more forward, these ones also start to hang. It's not painful, right?
No.
Yeah. Head on one side for a bit, head on the other side. Yeah. Great. And then slowly coming back, all the way back to child pose. All the way, all the way, all the way. Under your feet. Yeah, and rest. You can widen your knees or not, rest how you like. Yeah, so pose and counter pose, these two work beautifully together. But it's a pity if we only have one color, this one. It's a pity if we don't have the other one, of the squirrel with the tail way up in the air and the permission to let the chest be very, very open. Yeah. Does that get easier and easier on your arms? Or does it always pull a little one?
I think that's easy.
It looks like it. I don't mean this one, I mean the other one.
I do it every morning.
Great. Okay. Okay. How are you, John? Okay, so coming back up. Yeah. Right? So the movement we did on the chair, similar to this movement we did folding forward. And so you can imagine that you can do it in other positions, you know, like here or in standing and so on. Okay, so if you go back and get that support that you were sitting on and sit on it again. Yeah. So when you sit for meditation with crossed legs, or even if you're using a kneeler, the principle applies. If it's too low, you may start to struggle. Okay, you may start to struggle. And it doesn't mean you're better at yoga because your knees touch the ground. Never. That's how people injure their knees, because they push. The way our knees drop has to do with the bony ligamentous signature of every person, which is built from the flare that your pelvis has. Pelvises can be more flared or less, but not size of women and male pelvis, but flare. Then the angle of the femur, the angle of the neck of the femur, and the amount of rotation. All these things come together to make you here or completely open. Okay, so it's not about saint and sinner, it's that. But for all of us, if I have to sit like this, that's not helpful. I have to make a cushion. And in fact, in the Bhagavad Gita, in an early chapter, it says that. It says when the meditator comes to sit, they have to make a cushion that's high enough so that the chakras line up. And they don't say cushion, they say you should put dung, straw, and earth so that you raise yourself up so that these main parts line up. So you can see that there's a wisdom in that. Of course, if you're not meditating and you want to sit on the floor and put your back up against the chair and put some cushions under here and sip some tea so that your hips are working a bit, that's a different thing. That's wonderful. Does that make sense? So yeah, so just play with the support just for a moment. Yeah. Yeah, like, so you should be a lot higher and I'll get you. Yeah, or there's a blanket here. Yeah, and there's that red thing. Yeah, you could be higher. Yeah, I would use. That's what? That's it. Oh, okay. Not these. As well? Yeah, a little higher. Yeah, I mean, there's tons in the coverage.
I am normally higher.
Are you comfortable?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, if you sit cross-legged regularly, you know what you need. Yeah, so the higher I need the cushion. If it's just once.
That's what they call levitation.
Huh?
That's what they call levitation.
Yeah.
Eventually, even levitation, yeah. Yeah. Everyone okay with that? Okay, so if the back is not free, other things won't be free. So your shoulder and head situation won't be free. That's why lots of people say, my shoulders hurt after meditation. But the other thing that won't be free is the way the legs come out of the pelvis. And what can happen is that we can injure the inside of the knee. Usually you feel that, usually it's on this side, sometimes it's on that side. But usually we feel a discomfort here. And if you do feel that, you shouldn't continue. You should stop sitting like that and support and loosen up at another time. But so just practicing now, we're just going to play with that. So if you get some support, put your legs forward, put your hands behind, and just do like we used to do as kids. At the beach. tu suis encore? Ça va? C'est okay. What we're doing is flopping the leg around, internal and external rotation. And very often we're stuck either that way or that way. So this is very good to do. Yeah. Okay. Okay, and then I'm going to come back up on top of my seat. Remember we said on the chair needs to be high enough so that I'm not caught this way. But on the floor, this is the biggest challenge. That's why seated poses are quite advanced. You want to now try to not be caught under. Do you know what I mean? The feeling that your sit bones are pulled under. So what you do is you take your left hand and you put it under your left sit bone. And then you grab the sit bone, dig around. It's perfectly acceptable to do that, even on camera. Dig around, find the sit bone and go into the pelvic floor towards the anus, let's say. And you want to pull the sit bone back and wide. Back and wide. That's one. Yeah. And it's nice to play, you can be vigorous, but eventually you even do just a little bit. Can you feel? And there's a different feeling in the back of the leg, even for. Let me do the other side. We dig under, we find. The mudra is already working because we're touching, and we pull back. You can do this also on a chair. If you're going to sit at a very difficult board meeting, you can do it with both hands. It's really worth doing. Nobody will notice because everyone's so involved with their own issues. They won't notice that you are actively spreading your anus and releasing.
For the agenda.
I have another subject for the agenda. Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
Find it.
Yeah.
Is it really pulling back or more sideways?
Both. You may feel more back or more side, depending. But can you feel after you've been digging around in the garden that you're more on top, the thing is more open?
It's more relaxed under here.
And it may open, yeah. Yeah. Ça va? C'est bien, ça se voit. Okay, good. So we're going to have a straight leg and a bent leg, just like that. Yeah, and then we're just going to widen as much as we can. Yeah. Yeah. Like that. Yeah. I just feel I come back to my weight. I feel this inner hamstring getting long. Yeah. Okay. And then I just put my hand on the straight leg. I put my hand on my groin and my hip with my fingers dropping inside. And I just let the touch invite my leg to let go because the quadriceps are going to be doing their thing. So my hand is just inviting the flexi part to let go. And then if you look at my heel, I can also just open my heel that way. Yeah, and then I relax again and you'll feel things changing and I'm just inviting my leg to drop. Beautiful, beautiful. And then watch me. Some of us have ended up like this, right? So you can come back up on top. It's like you're lifting yourself up on top. And then we can just lean forward a bit and you'll feel it act deeply into your leg. Yeah, but of course, if I go this way, I feel nothing. But if I lift, it's like the lotus growing up out of the mud of the pelvis, and I come forward, I'll feel it starting to act on all, that looks good, on all the strings of the leg. That's great, John. Yeah. And here, you're very mobile, so it feels less, but it doesn't mean you're not doing anything. But you do have a tendency to go there, so you just need to lift to make sure that you have roots, but wings. Yeah. And then David, like me, you have a tendency to be quite externally, so the hand is reminding you that you can have some inner, yeah.
Bring the foot.
Yeah, and there isn't a rule, but you can play with the whole range of color. Yeah. Okay, anybody have discomfort in the other knee? Here? Okay, good. So we just do the other side. So I come back, I bend, and I open. So in the asanas, the variations have to do with you being closed, which we're not doing, all the Mahamudra variations, and then wide, which in the Sanskrit is the Janusirsasana variations. That's what we're doing, because it's very helpful to getting the legs to free themselves up in relation to the spine movements we're making before. Very good. Yeah, so I'm on my sit bones. Yeah. My leg is long. I can pull my heel out just to be aware. And I can be, and I'm touching. So the touching helps me to let go through there, let go. And of course, I can come up a bit, I can come a little forward or a little back, and I feel the pathway in my leg changing. Very nice. And Jonathan, for these, you could actually be a bit higher, especially on that side, that you know, on a higher cushion, not for today, but if you were a bit higher, especially that straight leg would be challenged and it would open. That's just okay, and we can come back and straighten the leg, the first leg. Okay, so now we'll look at the bending leg, and I'll go over a little bit because we started late. So normally, when we want to bend the leg to sit cross-legged, normally what we do is we grab the foot and we pull it in, right? And then we grab the other foot and we pull it in. But what we're doing when we grab the foot, watch my hand, I'm internally rotating and I have many joints. And by the time my long bone gets here, it's internally rotating. And then I pull, that's in there, it's called a meniscus. You see, it's gone like that. And then I force myself in, and then I'm sitting, and after some time it hurts. And then we think we should stay because the hurt will go away. No, you're injuring your knee. So the leg is open, bring your foot out a bit. Yeah. And so instead of pulling in from the foot, we're going to get the lower part of the long bone. So where these knobbles are, we get that. Yeah. And we bring that in. Yeah. And that leaves the knee quiet. We bring that in. Yeah. That's the first thing. We're going to do it again. But this time, we're going to manage the thigh as well. And we're going to take the thumb, and we're going to put the thumb inside the knee, quite far in. Yeah. Watch my hand. And then I put my hand around my thigh, not down there, but around up there. So I'm pulling my thigh open. Por aquí, esto. Y así. I'm opening. So I'm opening this, and I've got my leg. And so when I bring it in, I'm really bringing my body in the right direction. Yeah, that's good. So if your knee bothers you at another time, you can sit for a few moments with your hands doing that. You can put both thumbs in there. It's called a double whammy. And you can pull it open, okay? Yeah, and what you're used to it, you're actually moving the inside ecology of your knee. Yeah, I like that. And you could stick, let me get my sweater. So at home, on your own, you can get the belt of your bathrobe and you roll your belt up or a sock like that. So you make something thick and you put the sock in the knee like that, and then you close and you bring it in, and then you have something that you can pull with, okay? And that's wonderful because quite quickly over time, you help to correct the problem. Yeah, so that may be something on that knee if it bothers you to do. It's wonderful, 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 wonderful.
But just to be clear, I thought you were turning the thigh out.
That's right, yeah.
But you now seem to be talking about the knee itself.
No, it's the thigh with this hand, and it's the calf with this hand, but it's actually very deep inside. You're making this. You're externally rotating both parts, like opening a piece of bread that way, which is the opposite of the pinch that we do, which, you know, and then you force yourself because you're in a yoga class and you really irritate it. Or it can in daily life, you go for a walk and you slip on your ankle and then you irritate the knee. But if you're a meditator, you bring that irritation to let it show. Huh? You don't really have trouble, right? No. Do you?
I just sit always like
Oh,
that.
you kneel, yeah. You kneel. Okay. Yeah. So let's just close with this movement. So one leg is straight. One leg is going to be bent, but I'm not going to grab my toe and pull and pinch. I'm going to grab my ankle and I'm going to put my thumb in there or my sweater. And I'm going to bring it in and I'm going to really enjoy this whole thing opening up. Yeah. And my foot comes all the way in. Your heel could come right up against your pelvic floor. That just depends on how you're made. Okay. And you're as wide as possible. Okay. Then we're going to turn towards the straight leg. And normally you want to, because you want to be yogic, you want to touch your toes and put your head on the knee. But that's a great way, watch me, to go into the whole pattern again and hurt your back, normally. So if we do the much more advanced and more wonderful pose, watch, instead of turning and bending and getting, I'm going to turn and I'm going to just do the via negativa. I'm going to open this way and I'm going to slide my arm and I'm just going to let myself be taken skyward by my chest. And this will fix your back and your knee and the whole world in one movement. Yeah, keep sliding, but that's beautiful, actually. Lift and slide and turn. Here we go. Lift and slide. That's it. Yeah, this is beautiful. Lift and turn. How is that? And you can drop. That's it. Lift and turn. Did you feel that? Yeah, that was like a piece of. Yeah, I'm not supposed to come over here. I'm clean person. Yeah. Yeah. The spine does everything we did, plus one more thing. It's so beautiful. Yeah. So eventually you're lying with your back, look at this, with your back on your leg. It's a Polish moment. Yeah, that's great. And then come back. Come all, that's amazing,
What are we
David.
doing with this leg? What? So we were going to get my leg.
We weren't. We were just letting the Holy Spirit take you. Other side. Don't grab the toe. Open up the knee. Open the knee. Bring the foot in. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I've used lots of words and images, so just stay with yourself. Let this really open. This is very wide. So I'm lifting as I drop through, and then I'm lifting and turning, which is biologically wonderful for the lower vertebrae and the sacrum. And the knee is being allowed to open. Yeah. And keep dropping through. David, your arm might drop so much that your fingers are under your heel.
No.
Opening.
There's something weird going on.
But that looks so beautiful, everyone. With each breath, lift and open and turn. That's great. That's great. That's great. Again, Jonathan, looks great, but if you had a slightly higher base, it would just be more natural. You would just naturally lift. Because you're very mobile, but here it's not so mobile.
Yeah, it sort of hurts down
Yeah.
there.
Come on down. Come on. Lift and turn. That's it. We lift and turn. That's amazing. Yep. Okay. No, you don't change anything. Just there it is. There it is. Yeah. So we come back to the same thing, you know, if your chair is too low, sorry if I tickled your tummy, you can't lift. You can't lift, so then it's too late because then you're stuck in the mud. Yeah. You're doing Swan Lake. Yeah, it's amazing.
That's feeling.
Okay. Brilliant. Thank you, everyone.
Okay, thank you, Giovanni.
Thank you and a very happy
And a
holiday.
nice holiday.
Yeah.
What should we do for homework while you're away, teacher?
Pick some of your classes and play with them.
Also for you, Luke, happy holiday.
Yes, thank you, Luke. Thank you for filming. Bye, everyone.
Bye. Bye.